was this?
This is flaming vodka!
Oh, okay. Face. First, take a big step back and literally your own face! Now, I don't know what kind of pan-Pacific bullshit power play you're trying to pull here. So whatever you're thinking, you better think again. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to head down there, and I will rain down an ungodly firestorm upon you. I am talking scorched earth, motherfucker! I will massacre you! I will you up!
In a not yet totally completed thread on X, I elucidated for our audience right before the show went live what is happening to our program right now. Last night I was contacted by the New York Times. The New York Times is writing a hit piece on me and of course on you. What are our sins? What hath we done? Nothing. Not of course that I'm scared at in the least of this, but I'm curious. What has drawn the ire of the world's most trusted name in news? Oh, well, let's go ahead and look. I'm reading to you directly from the email sent to me by the New York Times. A New York Times reporter named Nico Grant, who is a former MSNBC intern, turned New York Times reporter. See how that works? See the pipeline there? Here's what our sins are. Mr. Johnson said that Trump's legal problems are a result of election interference by Democrats. So President Trump, who is facing hundreds of years in prison for bookkeeping records or for holding documents that is his right under the Constitution, or for saying march peacefully and patriotically to the U.S. Capitol under his constitutionally protected free speech. Us noting that that's never happened to another president, even though many other presidents, including Joe Biden, have kept and profited off of classified information. Joe Biden wrote a book and made millions of dollars off of classified information that he illegally smuggled out of the Senate. Us saying that they are treating Trump differently and that that's election interference, the writers at the New York Times are crying and sobbing into their lattes as they listen to us say that. What else? What else have we done? Oh, let's go through these grievances, because these are, this is really something, boys. Can't believe I let myself go here. Wow. Mr. Johnson argued without sufficient evidence that Democrats have not closed the border. Hear that? Do you hear that, boys? I don't have sufficient evidence that Democrats have not closed the border. The New York Times' position is to state that even though I can provide for you empirical and demonstrable evidence of the wholesale American carnage and slaughter of Kamala's open border policies. I mean, what's the body count up to now? How many Americans have been murdered in cold blood? And worse, by the way, worse. Crimes I can't even elucidate on this program for fear of it being taken down by criminal monsters that have walked into our country, in fact, been welcomed into our country and been funded by Kamala Harris and the government. You know, they pay. When these criminal aliens come here, they pay them. They pay for housing. They get EBT. They get food stamps. They get Social Security. You get all of these goodies. How do you think it's hard enough for the American public to live? How do you think a criminal alien that doesn't even speak our language and has no skilled labor and no capacity to work, like, how do you think they live? They're here illegally. How do you think they survive? Like, the federal government subsidizes them. This has all been reported. This has all been factually backed up by a preponderance of evidence that is overwhelming. Yet the New York Times is coming after my program because I dared say that Democrats opened the border. I can show you footage of illegal criminal alien mobs fighting soldiers at the border and winning, American soldiers, and winning as they wade into our country, as they storm our country. Yet the New York Times is saying that we push disinformation because we have not sufficient evidence. There's not enough sufficient evidence. What sufficient evidence is there exactly? Shall we take the reporters at the New York Times and put them, literally stand them up on the border and hold open their eyeballs so that they must see it for themselves? It's like a bird box, like the bird box meme. Like what in what universe do you actually flip this story, this piece that the New York Times writing about me? And not just me, they're writing it about Ben Shapiro, Tucker Carlson, Tim Pool, Mike Davis, allies of our program, every conservative. Oh, and it gets so much worse. It gets so much worse. Let's continue. Benny Johnson claimed falsely that 2020 was rigged. It was rigged, actually. Oh, it was. How did they rig it? Well, I mean, where do I even start? Do we have the next 7 hours that I can go through this? Let's just right off the top of my head. Hey, New York Times, how did you report the Hunter Biden laptop story? Did you call it Russian disinformation? That's rigging. That's a real story. Did you support the 51 Intel experts that said the Hunter Biden's laptop has all the hallmarks of Russian disinformation? That's rigging an election. The American public deserve to know that true information. Did you send Nico Grant to go hunt down the Hunter Biden laptop story? Do you know that the FBI used Hunter Biden's laptop in a court of law as physical evidence against Hunter Biden because of its veracity and because of its realness? Ladies and gentlemen, the New York Times is saying that I purvey disinformation because I said that Democrats did not properly nominate Kamala Harris. Oh yeah, that's considered misinformation by the New York Times. So a woman who received 0 votes, went through 0 primaries, has done 0 interviews, has 0 authentic support, did in fact throw into the garbage 15 million Democrat votes, which I assume are lawful for Joe Biden, naming Joe Biden their Democrat nominee for 2024. That woman, who the Democrat Party admits was anointed in a backroom backstabbing deal by Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama, who actively facilitated, this has been printed actually in the New York Times. The New York Times was the rag of record to actually print these salacious stories that they were planning on planting on Joe Biden. The New York Times was a useful organ in manipulating and pressuring Joe Biden to drop out. The New York Times is actually complicit in the rigging of the Democrat primary against Joe Biden. Yet they have the bloody cheek to come after me and my team and this company. And how are they doing it? You're not going to believe this. They're using data, I'm reading to you directly from my email, data compiled by researchers at Media Matters to do it. Media Matters is a far left-wing hate group created and funded exclusively by Clintonites, David Brock, for the sole purpose of deplatforming conservative media. It gets worse. Media Matters has been exposed as frauds. Please, ALX, put up the article of Elon Musk's lawsuit against Media Matters. Media Matters, in their reporting, engaged in algorithmic manipulation or some level of actual criminal fraud. Elon Musk has sued Media Matters for maliciously fabricating their reporting and has won in court. Here we go. Elon Musk X can proceed with trial in case against Media Matters after judge denies dismissal request. What happened? The platform appeared to have manipulated or straight up fabricated reporting about Elon Musk's free speech platform X, which we love, know, and love, and care very, very dearly about. Media Matters is a fraudulent hate group, thoroughly discredited, founded exclusively by left-wing censorious activists to attack free speech at its core, which is what? Free speech at its very core is this, and it's very important to remember, and it's something that I have to remind myself constantly. It's why we do Salt That Lib on this show. It's why we do Salt That Lib, okay? Salt That Lib is, in essence, me playing for you an opinion that you're not going to like. It's a constant. If you're new to the show, this is something constantly that we do. Once again, we are monitoring the President Trump's feed. We will go to Donald Trump's press conference as soon as President Trump takes the dais. He has not as of yet. The very bedrock of free speech is that those who say things that you disagree with, those who say things that may even be false, that they can say them, that they're allowed to say them. We didn't say anything false. In fact, it is Media Matters and the New York Times who are preparing to say false things about me, about Tucker, about Ben Shapiro, Tim Pool, and others. Here's the difference. While I can read to you the news and present to you the news and do so every single day, and we do so in the most rigorous and entertaining way possible, I certainly have my opinions. We always back up everything that we say with stories, evidence, everything. Some of the things that we talk about are empirical. The DNC did rig their nominating process to give you Kamala Harris without a single vote. That's true. Cry about it, bitches. That's true. The border is open. Cry about it. These are true things. We'll say them. We'll continue to say them. What they are not entitled to is defamation. What you are not entitled to is attacking your competition. And that is precisely what this is. Make no mistake, America's most trusted newspaper is 1 week before the election. 1 week, 6 days to the election, planning a massive hit piece on the largest Trump-supporting voices, free speech voices, conservative voices in the movement to try and deplatform us. This is their Hunter Biden 2024 laptop story. This is their attack on the truth. This is the most grotesque form of censorship I've ever seen. They are openly attacking what is true. Klein, please put up the Twitter thread. They are attacking what is real and true and factual. straight out of George Orwell. But they didn't plan on something. There's one thing they didn't plan on. They didn't plan on the fact that we don't give an F. They didn't plan on the reality, and reality is a brutal mistress. Reality remains undefeated. That their audience is decaying and atomizing, and our audience is growing exponentially. That we are the media. That more people listen to us in a single day than all of the corporately funded, publicly traded, hundreds of billions of dollars valuation New York Times. And they can't stand that. It enrages them. Because their power comes from being a gatekeeper. Their power comes from being able to shut down voices like mine, or being able to call you names for believing that 2020 was rigged, or that this lawfare against Donald Trump, without evidence. Oh, Democrats have an open border. Benny said that without evidence. These people are demons. And you know what you do when you are an agent of salt and light, as we are on this program, is you fight evil and you fight the forces of darkness. And so view this, New York Times, as the one and only time you will be warned by me. Here's your warning. We have very scary attorneys who are dogs, vicious dogs, who have been waiting for a moment such as this. Because there needs to be a proper shot across the bow to this level of slander. I watched them lock up Steve Bannon. I watched them try and destroy Tucker Carlson. I've watched them run deplatform operations against Elon Musk. They've tried to bankrupt Elon. Good luck with that. They've come after my friends and my executive producer, my brother, ALX, was deplatformed by the old regime at Twitter for the express reason, and we now know this, because it was too good. ALX was too good at tweeting, and so they ripped him offline. He was too effective. So they tried to destroy this young man's career, much as they would like to destroy this audience. I won't stand for it. I won't. We have some resources at this program. If the New York Times, and we know some very, very scary people in the legal profession, if the New York Times dares defame our constitutionally protected right to free speech, opinion, and thought as offensive as the New York Times may find it, you will see us in court. The days of cowering in the corner, wetting our pants, and crying to mommy because the New York Times wrote something we didn't like. Because, oh, the big bad New York Times. Oh, they're coming after us. Oh, it's so dangerous. Oh, they're so scary. They're the New York Times. Those days are over. We will not suffer it. And we don't have to suffer it. Because unlike the New York Times, our audience is real and growing. And provide what we do every single day they could never conceive of. Providing a valuable access point for independent thought and journalism, which is what we do. And we will defend it to the last. And so view this as a warning, New York Times. Here's my official response for your story. Please include it. And this may be the most costly article you ever write. So tread lightly. Because you're not dealing with your daddy's Republican Party. You are not dealing with a bunch of Mitt Romney, John McCain, Mitch McConnell, cowering bitches who will sit in the corner and cry because you wrote something mean about them. You are dealing with brawlers, bare knuckle brawlers, who actually had to build something and make something. And you are not going to be allowed to slander us, slander my audience, this movement, this channel, the incredible creatives that work for me and bust their asses to do more work in a single night than the New York Times writers do all year. And their pretentious, preening, morally unscrupulous, virtue signaling positions at that sick, rotting, diseased, decaying, sinking organ. Once America's most trusted newspaper. Not today. Not anymore. The game has changed. And so consider this a real threat. I've already spoken at length with my attorney about it. And you'll be receiving a letter from us actually quite soon. So, Nico, there's your response. Hope you include it. And have a great day. Me waving out of my McDonald's window. This is me waving out the McDonald's window. Have a great day, New York Times. That's what we think about you. Yeah. Boys, the game has changed. And we're here for it. We say it often on the program. We fight for you. Thank you for fighting with us. We show up for you. Thank you for showing up for us. No, no, no. We shall not go quietly into the night. No, no. In fact, this may be the worst day and the most expensive article the New York Times ever publishes. So tread lightly.